story to retain humanity and the resolve required to prevent at least one act of night violence. So you will see that how Jagga, though he is a Badmash, he is a rogue, but he is the only character in the novel who retained some humanity. Just give me a second. There's a message. Give me a second, please. Hmm. So I was talking about Jagga the Badmash of that village, that house. He is the only character in the novel who showed, who retained some humanity. Where the other characters, it may be a government employee, it may be from defense department, or it may be anyone. You will find that that was the situation. At the time of partition, the people were helpless, and the people who were able to do something, but there was a hatred, enmity against each other, against each other community. But there were people who loved each other, who tried to defy any kind of violence. But most of the people were helpless, and there are some people, and Jagga is among them, that who retained some humanity. It is his heroic sacrifice that ensures that the train carrying the forcefully displaced Muslims of Mama Majra runs safely to Pakistan. That most of the Muslims migrated to Pakistan from India, and Sikhs and Hindus migrated to India from Pakistan. So Jagga, because his girlfriend was there in the train, and his girlfriend was a Muslim, and he he sacrificed his life to ensure that the train could reach Pakistan safely. And that time, what happened? There were many trains which were filled with the dead bodies. It means that such kind of violence was there when when people were migrating from India to Pakistan and Pakistan to India. Such kind of violence and hatred was created among the people, that they were after each other's life. So, that people from India who were the Muslims and Sikhs, most of the people, they were who were Sikhs and Hindus, they were against Muslims, and they tried to carnage, they tried to kill the people who were going through the train. And the same thing was there in Pakistan. The people who were coming from Pakistan, the people who were Hindus and Sikhs who were coming from Pakistan, they also suffered the same fate. So that was the condition, that how trains were going from India to Pakistan and Pakistan to India, carrying the dead bodies. Uh, so Gadka, she sacrificed his life, and he wanted to ensure that the train which is going to Pakistan from India should reach there safely. And here I'm talking about one train, and in that train his girlfriend was also there. So to save his girlfriend, to save the humanity, to save the people, he sacrificed his life. Uh, so such were the people, also at that time. In this, he is like that other memorable character of partition narrative overtaking inside of Hasan Manto. So when we read this, we remember, if you have gone through the short story titled Overtaking, written by Sadat Hasan Manto, So you will see also in that story, there is a character, Sobateksi, who sacrificed his life, who died, but he didn't, you know, choose either country. So he died on the, border, on the way, which was, belonging to none, neither India nor Pakistan. In the same way, we see that how Jagga sacrificed his life in return to Pakistan. So there is another character that is Meet Singh, and he is, Meet Singh and other Sikhs of Majra of that village. And we are told that they had lived peacefully with their Muslim neighbors and that they stopped copious tears, tears when these families were forcefully displaced. And there were other characters like Meet Singh and other Sikh characters uh, who lived in in Manu Majra with their Muslim neighbors. So Manu Majra was a very peaceful village, and the people of different communities lived peacefully unless there was a turmoil of partition. So there were people, and you know that how uh, Muslims, most of the Muslims, forcefully uh, you know, send to send to Pakistan that your country is Pakistan. So the same thing happened from Pakistan. That how Hindus and Sikhs were forcefully sent to the India, but still there are Hindus in Pakistan and Muslims in India, and they preferred their respective country. Like Muslims in India who preferred to stay here, they stayed in India, and Hindus and Sikhs who preferred to stay in Pakistan, they are still in Pakistan. So, but uh, uh, there were people who were forced to leave that particular place and go to the country, uh, which was belong to their community. So here we see that in that village, Majra, Meet Singh and other Sikhs who lived with their Muslim neighbors, uh, they were full of tears when Muslims were sent to Pakistan. So they were not happy that their friends, their neighbors are going to Pakistan. So there are such people also who didn't want to leave their friends, their neighbors, that may be of any other community. So such things was there at the time of partition. And yet, when a firebrand instigator ranks them, many of them set out to waylay the train to Pakistan and slaughter its passengers. So, again, those people who were, teary eyes, uh, that because their friends, their neighbors, their Muslim friends and neighbors were going to Pakistan. But the same people, when they were instigated by some unsocial elements of the society, the same people slaughtered, killed their friends and killed the people who were going to Pakistan. So such kind of situation was there when India and Pakistan was divided. This, despite the knowledge that their Muslim neighbors would be on the train. Admittedly, there are only a few who volunteer for this gruesome operation. They were knowing that their friends, their neighbors are there in the train, but still they were, doing such heinous work. They were killing, they were, murdering the people. So there another character that is Iqbal. He's the, representation of modernism, modernity, and uh, he was a educated man. He was in England, returned. So he tried to be a leader, a politician, and he was, he is the representation of the modernity in the novel. And he was a social reformer who dreams of being a national leader. Is also an important character. He exemplifies the disconnect of Indian modernity with its villagers. So he is the representation that how that modern people, that how they are disconnected from their village, from the villages of the India. So Iqbal is fired by theoretical concepts of equality and revolution, but he does not seem to know how to operationalize it in the heat and dust of everyday life. And he cannot bring himself to join the villagers of Majra in the everyday routine. So he was a kind of modern man. He went to England, he lived there, he came back, and he was not able to cope up with the people of Majra because their thinking was not matching with his. And you will find that he continually refuses the food and milk offered by the villagers, preferring instead to eat the pre-cooked and tinned food he has brought along. So he was he was uh, having the pre-cooked milk that was it was in the tin, it was in the packet that he brought from England, and he was having the water from the bottle. So he was not like other people of Madhya who were, eating and taking water from the tap or from the well. So he is a kind of, representation of model Niti. So he lectures them instead on the pre-packaged liberal ideas that he has brought with him. Iqbal would have preferred being a leader with political visibility rather than being an unknown activist in a far-flung village. So he knows, however, that a leader resume should show the sacrifices he has done for the cause he espouses. So actually, his intention was to be a leader, and he wanted to be a national leader, and uh, but that such was the situation that was not in his favor. So again, we will talk about the terrain as the symbol. What was the symbol of terrain? What was the importance of terrain? That day. So those times you will find that very few trains were there, and in fact trains were introduced in India with the arrival of British people, and they introduced it so that they can carry the uh, stuff and from India to their country. So the Indian Railways has come to be one of the most complex metaphors of the nation. History tells us that it was first established by the British to facilitate the commercial exploitation of their colonial resources. So uh, it was established by the British people, and wherever they went, they tried to establish it, and so that they can carry the things to their country. And because wherever they went, their main intention was to exploit the resources of of, of their colonies, of their colonial countries, and uh, to, to send the resources to their own countries, they established trade. So paradoxically, this network of trains also served to link the nation and make it one coherent geographic space. The picture of a moving mass of humanity brought together in a lumbering carriage, the picture of thousands of people of different driven together in a lumbering, even uh, antagonistic caste and communities huddled together and crisscrossing the country, continues to be one of the most moving representations of the nation. Consequently, the widespread attacks on trains during the time of the partition remain one of the most disturbing memories of the time. Uh, and a number of ghost trains bearing corpses ran back and forth from India and Pakistan. So you can see that uh, a number of ghost trains bearing corpses ran back and forth from India to Pakistan. So that's how people were killed. The people who were migrating from India to Pakistan and Pakistan to India, and how they were killed, and how the trains were filled with the corpses of human beings, with the bodies of human beings. So the village Mano Majra is on railway line near where it crosses the trailing satellite. So again, Mano Majra is fictional village created by Kushwan Singh, and it is a village in Punjab, and it is beside Satluj River. So he said that Mano Majwa was set, on the railway line, near the railway line. It means that the railway line was there near that village. So in fact, we are told that Mano Majwa has always been known for its railway station. And significantly, the trains are part of Mano Majwa's daily routine. So that, when you talk about the train and Mano Majwa, that connection, so the people were getting up when they were listening the horn of the train, and in the night, when they were sleeping, they were listening the horn of the train. So it was a kind of daily routine for them, and uh, it was a kind of alarm for them that the time was such that train was coming or going in the morning. So that was the morning time. That was the time to get up. The people of that village. So it was, it had a very harmonious connection. There was a harmonious connection between the train and the village Mano Majora and the people of that village. But at the time of partition, when the time was changed, when there was a disruption, then it was a kind of problem for the people. So here, uh, see that how it has been mentioned that trains provide the signal for waking up, resuming work in the afternoon, and recreating for the night. So that is, the trains which were going through that railway line, they were, you know, providing the signal to the people of Manumajra that their timing was such that the train was coming and going in the morning, so that was a time to get up the people, and again it was going and coming up in afternoon. That was again the time for their work, and in the night, when the train was coming and going, and it was indicated that it is the night time. So note how the problem started in Manamajura. So it was, as I told you, it was very peaceful village. But how problem started? The very first sentence in the section titled Kalyu informs us that the time schedule in Manamajura started going wrong. So this is the sentence from one section of the novel that titled as Kalyu. That what is that? The time schedule in Manamajura started going wrong. So the earlier it was everything was peaceful, everything was right, but it started going wrong. The schedule started going wrong. How trains became less punctual than ever before. So earlier it was very punctual, and now it became less punctual, ever before, and many more started to run through the night, and many more started to run through the night. So, what was happening in the country during that time? Because the village was on the side of railway line, and though this village was peaceful, but uh, there were happenings in other parts of country, and the time was the train time was scheduled earlier, but due to the disruption, due to the partition, the train started going on the wrong time. So sometimes it was going in the night, and the full night the trains were coming and going. So it was a kind of indication that something is not good, and that which was going on in another part of the country affected Manu Majra as well. So this upsets the rhythm of life in Manu Majra and is the first signal that the order they are familiar with is being disrupted. So when the train timing was changed, it was the first signal that the life in Manu Majra is disrupted. So one of the climatic episodes in the novel is the arrival of an eastbound train, which makes an unscheduled stop at Manamajara. It's stalled full of corpses. The villagers are cordoned out of the railway station. The bodies unloaded from the train are cremated. The pall of the fire hangs over the village. So you can see that how what happened. Sudden a train came to and it stopped there, and it was full of the corpses. And then what happened? Their corpses were cremated. So, and the whole of that village was ordered. There was a church in that village. So you see that how the situation changed. How Manamajara, the village, which was very peaceful, was also now disrupted, disturbed, uh, and influenced by the ongoing events, by the ongoing happenings at the time of partition. So the village also makes an unusual dispatch. The Muslim families of the village are hustled out among all the rumors splitting around about what is to befall these displaced families to the mention of a friend to Pakistan. So the Muslim, then what happened? The Muslim families of the village were, separated. They were, you know, uh, they were displaced to a particular place, and it was said that these people and these families had to go to Pakistan. So Muslims were culled out from that village. The Muslim families were culled out. They were forcefully. They had to, leave their village, their homes, and they were, about to send to Pakistan. So that was the thing that, forcefully the people were sent to the Pakistan. The Muslims were sent to the Pakistan. So the last section is taken up almost entirely by the plan that is hatched in the Gurdwara to attack the train. So how, in the last section it is shown that how the plan was hatched, created in Gurdwara, uh, that how the train which is going to Pakistan, which is filled with the Muslim families, how it should be attacked and how the families and how the Muslims should be killed. So that plan was created, or that plan was hatched in Gurudwara. So given the intimate relationship that the village had with train, this attack becomes more than anything else. and attack on itself. This is even more so because the plane they plan to attack is the very one that could bear the Muslim families of Manamajra to Pakistan. So you will see that how when they plan to attack and they plan to attack the plane which was carrying the Muslim families to Pakistan. Such was the situation when there was a time when people lived there peacefully and they were friends to each other. Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, all were living happily together. They loved each other. But at the time of partition, see what happened, how they are planning to kill other people, and particularly the Muslims were displaced, the Muslims were compelled to leave that village and to go to Pakistan. And the train which was carrying them, how the plan was had in Gurdwara, a religious place, and there it should not happen. But see, it showed the uh, corruption in religion as well. That's how the plan was raised in Gurdwara that the train should be attacked and Muslims should be killed. So such was the horrible situation at the time of partition. So while summing up, and we see that um, train to Pakistan is seen as a sensitive portrayal of the tumult of partition. Singh, the writer of the something, recreates a tiny village in Punjab, Mano Majra, and narrates the events that unfold there in the terrible months of 1947. The simple folk of Mano Majra have suddenly to contend with unusual arrivals into their otherwise nondescript village. The government makes its presence felt with the arrival and protracted stay of Hukumchand. Iqbal, the social worker, is sent by the party to avert any unrest that might occur in the village given its proximity to Pakistan's border. So, such were the state of the government that there should not be any kind of disruption. But who will control the, uncontrollable mob who were after the life of each other? Now, the apprehension of trouble grieving is further compounded by the disturbed rhythm of trains traversing Manomajra. And then finally, the eastbound ghost trains with their cargo of capsules began to arrive. This set into motion a wave of displacement and revenge. In the unwinding of this story, we encounter the many identities that were jostling the social space of newly independent India. We see how certain identities gained prominence while others were marginalized. We also pursue the new movements at community formation. In all of this, the trend, particularly the trend between India and Pakistan, emerged as an important metaphor. So you will see that how the people were living there happily, but again, because of the political decisions, that how the people, of different countries, different communities became the enemy of each other, and how the people who were in majority, they were dominant, and the people who were in minority, they were suppressed, and they had to bear the loss like anything. So it was like the uh, so it was about train to Pakistan. Uh, that is unit number 9. And now we will discuss Unit 10, that is Lihaf by Ismat Choktai. So please give me a minute so that I can share the screen. So now we will discuss the Unit 10, that is Lihaf. It is written by the Lihaf is a short story that is written by Ismat Choktai. So the objectives of this unit are to familiarize yourself with the cultural context of Ismat Choktai's Lihaf, i.e. the progressive writers association that created a climate for radical writing and the social socio-cultural movement that has been working to retrieve, study, and revalue women's writing in India. And the other objective is to critically understand some of the narrative features such as the protagonist, the narrative voice, the uh, structure of the short story. And next objective is to understand central how the central image of the quilt quilt is deployed in the story. And the other objective is to analyze some of the issues that the story explores, such as the gendering of the female child, the issues of sexuality, and of the disconnect between labor and leisure in the narrative world of Lihar. And the other objective is to analyze the obscenity debate around the short stories and the ways in which it serves to censor women's voices, more particularly how it seeks to curtail what women can write about and how they can write about them. And the last objective of this unit is to understand some of the criticisms that have been raised against Lihaf from progressive quarters. So these are the objectives of unit number 10, that is based on Lihaf, and the Lihaf is a short story by Ismail Chuktaye. So before moving to the Lihaf, we will discuss few points about Ismail Chuktaye as a writer. Ismail Chuktaye is frequently described as an iconoclast and a rebel. And why she is known that? Because she persistently pushed against the constraints imposed by society. She challenged the idea of social propriety and disrupted notions which prescribed how women ought to be. And she was a fiercely independent thinker, and this is best evident in her writing. So you can imagine that the our country has been already male dominated society, and women had very few chance opportunities to express themselves, and that too when you talk about the writings of Ibn Sufyan, you will hardly find such kind of writing in any other women's writing. So the bold she is and the topics she has raised in her writing, you know, it hardly can be seen in other women writers. Ismail Chukai grew up in a prosperous Muslim family, insisting that she was as good as the boy. She got herself a bachelor's degree and a career as an educationist before she flung herself completely in 1933 into a writing career. Uh, then Isma Chukai was active in the Progressive Writers Association in 1930s. The boldness of her writing invited both scandal and fame. So she was, very famous and uh, such kind of her writing, as I told you that such topics were dealt by her that she was very famous. She was well known. She was known to most of the people of her time. The short story Lihaf, the quilt, for instance, stirred up a great controversy when it was first published in 1931. It must remember, when I wrote Lihaf, there was a veritable explosion. I was torn to shreds in the literary arena. Uh, She was charged by the British government with obscenity. Hitchcock challenged the ban on the story and won her lawsuit. So her story, this one, Lihaf was banned when it was published, and because of the content in that short story. And then Hitchcock, the writer, challenged that ban, and in the end, she won the case. So here we will discuss cultural context of Liha, of the short story. That what was the culture at that time, and what was the people in the society was thinking at that time, and what was the movement that was going on at that time, and what was the happening, the incident which influenced the writers of that time. So to better understand how Lihas engaged with the social and imaginative life of the 40s, let us trace two overlapping contexts. That of the Progressive Writers Association, it was a movement and it was, in full of at that time, and how it influenced the life of the people and women's writing in India, and how the second point is women's writing in India, that how women began to write in India, and how women writers came to the fore. And we will have, we have such kind of writer like Ibn Sufyan, that the topic, the issues she has raised in her stories or in her writing, which were not thought upon, which were not imagined by most of the writers or most of the people of that time. So we will discuss few point about progressive writers association. The Writers Association was active from around the mid-30s till about the mid-50s and powerfully influenced the cultural life of the country. So this movement influenced the cultural life of the country. It had an anti-imperialist agenda. It was furthermore committed to creating a socialist order. So this movement was, against the, uh, you know, and that colonialism. So the writers who were associated with this movement, they were anti-colonialists and they were against the colonization of our country. So right, they inspired uh, the people of that time through their writings. The movement launched its considerable energies into reimagining the nation that was to be India. It set about narrating the stories that had ever been told, recounting the stories of people who had been ignored and bringing them together to construct a common space of the nation. So, uh, uh, this movement, that is progressive writers movement, that is how they inspired the freedom fighters and the countrymen that we should not be under the control of Britishers. We should fight for our nation. We should fight for our freedom. We should fight for the you know independence of our country. So they played a very pivotal role in the independence of our country. Though they were not you know fighting on the border, but they were fighting for their pen. Hikmat Chugtai was involved in the movement, though she is known to have declared her intellectual freedom. Though she was, most of her writings are, are different from that kind of theme, that kind of concept of the movement. But she also involved herself in uh, progressive, progressive writers association organization. No association could dictate to me what I could or could not write. So she was associated with that, but she said that I have my own freedom and no one, no association, no organization, no human being can stop me and no human being can dictate me that what I should write and what I should avoid. So according to her, that I am the owner of my own thought, and I will write which I feel better. So when the policy of the party rigidly concluded that progressive writers, progressive literature is only that which is written about the peasant and the laborer, she disagreed. So when that there was a rigid rule that progressive writing should be about the peasants, about the farmers, about the peasant of the family of our country, and about the laborers. So their intention was to talk on behalf of the poor people. So they raised the issues of peasant and the laborer of our country. And they said that strictly these things should be there. But, we will see that it's not so right. disagrees with this idea, and she says that I cannot know and empathize with the peasant class as closely as I can feel the pain of the middle and the lower middle class, she said. And she said that because I am not from a peasant family, I didn't, see them, so I cannot, talk about them, but I can talk about the middle class from where I belong. So she said that there should not be strict rule and regulation, and one should not be compelled to follow that. So that's why she disagrees with us. In fact, many of her stories contend with middle class domesticity, tracing its tyrannies, its prices, emotions, and relationships. Her stories also explore the changes that were occurring in Middle East lives uh, during the time of nation building. So how she has depicted the society in her works, and particularly she talked about the women, and she gave them the tongue, and she we can say that a kind of she was a kind of spokesperson of the women of that time. The women who were not able to write, the women who were not able to speak, the women who were not able to stand against inhumanity which was done to them. So the second point of that time was that uh, women writing in India. That how women there were very few women writers, and how they had to go through when they were writing. The popular stories and canons of Indian literature usually list very few women writers. In this because few women have produced literature, hardly so. So you will find, very few female writers in Urdu literature, and that is because of, very few uh, women writers created literature. So that's why the representation of female writers is very less when you compare it to the male writers. It is true that women have not had the resources, both material and cultural, which men from the privileged sections have had. So it is true that women uh, did not have the resources. They were not such a privileged section to to have the resources so that they can express themselves. In fact, but this does not mean that women have not been literary producers. In fact, they have been prolific folk singers, religious poets, court historians, political writers, diarists, autobiographers, letter writers. So, such kind of restrictions were there, on the event, but it doesn't mean that they, their representation was not there. So they represented themselves in different forms, but it is also true that they were not such privileged as the, male writers. So we can see them, we can see the female representation, the female writer representation in folk singers, religious poets, court historians, polemical writers, diarists, and autobiographies, and letter writers. Our critical conventions have, however, tended to ignore and devalue these genres of their literary production. So, so the as the genre which I have mentioned just now, which is mentioned in your book, we can see the female writers in such genres. But uh, it is unfortunate that those genres are not very much popular in Urdu literature, and they are not considered as popular as the other forms, other genres like novel, drama, short story, poetry. The largely women have also written novels, short stories, poems, and plays. The largely male-centered literary establishments, from publishing houses to schools of literary criticism, have tended to be hostile to their work. So there were women who wrote novels, short stories, dramas, poetry. But as I told you, that India is a male-dominated society, and the writers uh, of that time, we see that literary scene was, dominated by the male writers, and not only that, even that publications and all these things were in the hands of uh, male writer, are in the hands of men. So we see that uh, women were not given much opportunities to show themselves, and it may be at the at the time of publication or at the time of their other of their writing. Their voices have often been suppressed in the name of culture, tradition, and decorum. So the voices of women have been suppressed. That you are a woman and you should take care of the family. You should be at home. Such kinds of words were, uh, told to them, and they were suppressed. They didn't get chance to evolve themselves. Even when women writers are grudgingly recognized, they are often seen as writers of non-serious and decorative work. So those when women were writing, so they were not seen as any serious writing. So their writings were not taken serious by the men, by the male writers. So even in the first half of the 19th of the 20th century, women writers, especially those from privileged social sections, had begun to garner a space for themselves. So you see that when in the 20th century, even in the half of the 20th century, you see that women were not given much chance, much opportunity, but they themselves began to make a place for themselves. The nationalist project had disturbed some of the old feudal structure. It seemed to promise equal citizenship to women in the nation, and that was being imagined. So simultaneously, there were also women to inscribe women into conservative structures of family and tradition. The works of women writers during this period capture the changes and contradictions that were convul- convulsing the society of their time. So that's how, women were not given much space, how they were not given value, their work were not considered as a serious work by the male writers or by the male, publishers. But but slowly they began to, carve their place, their space, and they began to, establish themselves with the passage of time. And now we can see that women are also as good as the men, and they are, getting more respect than earlier. much ties work states some of the most absorbing narrative reworkings of gender that occurred during this time. Some of the conflict and debate that Tuptai wrote proved Tuptai works proved continue to be carried out by contemporary women writers. So now we will have a reading of Lihaf that is by Ismat Tuptai. So we will discuss Lihaf from different perspectives. So to begin with, it will be useful to ask ourselves who the narrator of the story is. Most readers identify the teller of this tale as a little girl. So, who is the narrator in the novel, in this short story? And most of the people will say that there is a little girl who is the narrator. But if we were to read the story a little more closely, we would notice that the protagonist that I in the story is a girl who is older, probably an adolescent. So you will see that when it is written, it may seem that the protagonist of this novel is a very young girl, but uh, the narrative is from Bengal, but the way it is said like the way the things are described, it seems that it is an old woman and most especially it is an adolescent woman. This girl of uncertain age summons up memories from a time when she was younger, from a time when she was a small girl. She tries to go back in time and recreate her younger self and all that she saw and felt during the time that she was left with Begum Jam. So when with the narrative of that girl, you will see that she talked about her childhood and she talked about that when she was young and how she was left at the house of Begum Jan to serve her. So, the way she mentions the things, it seems that she is not a young girl now. She is a grown-up girl. She is a, uh, older women we can say, woman we can say. So, let's see, that what is there in the short story. The tone of a narration is conversation. It is almost as if the girl narrator is sitting across from the reader and in the comfort of togetherness. Like when women gather together for a nice session of gossip and storytelling. We talk to the reader. So how she talks to the reader and how she narrates that I will exchange that they are sitting, the women are sitting and they are gossiping. The readers are made to feel an anxious anticipation about the guilt and the memories that lie in the dark uh, crevices of the past. So when the title itself is filled, the readers are, you know, there's a kind of curiosity among the reader that what is in the film, what is going to happen. So throughout the story, you will see that a kind of curiosity is there among the reader that what is going to happen in the story. And that the girl informs us, the readers, of her tomboyish childhood and of the circumstances which led her mother to deposit her with Begum Jan. By the time we get through these descriptions, we are some way away from the quilt on which the story is titled. In a quick, uh, in a quick depth stroke, we are reminded of this all-important aspect. The same Begum Jan whose quilt is imprinted on my memory like a Black Christmas branch. So here you will see that how the girl. Uh, it seems that she talked about the past when she was with Begum Jan, and how she is not able to erase that memory, that what happened when she was with Begum Jan. So now notice the voice of the narrator here. It is still presumably that of the small girl who had uh, been left with Begum Jan. But there are details here that the small girl, even if she spent her time listening to kitchen gossip, it is not likely to have learned about Begum Jan. So that girl was left with Begum Jan, and she was supposed to take care of Begum Jan, and she was supposed to take care of that house. So most of the time, the other people were doing other things, and she was always with the Begum Jan. And what was happening with her and whatever was happening when she was with Begum Jan, she was not able to, erase that memory even in her older age. So and the story soon wanders to the point of Begum Jan's sudden and mysterious transformation from a picture of melancholy and despair to one of radiant well-being. Her newfound zest for life coincides with the entry of Rebel, her new maid. By now, nearly 2 pages have gone by since we last encountered reference to the quilt. We see the quilt again through the sleepy eyes of the child. It is it is leaving frighteningly on Begum Jan's bed in the darkness and secrecy of the night. From here, the story works its way to the climactic episode. So, it has been mentioned that how you know that how such night used to be and what was going on in the dark of the night. That's how the desire of a woman was fulfilled by her with the help of a girl, with the help of a younger girl. And she knew that the things will not be shared by the girl to other people. And she was able to quench her, thirst, we can say the sexual thirst with the help of that girl. So, yeah, in this writing, we can see a kind of, lesbianism was there. And that was a kind of taboo in our society. And that is the reason why this short story was banned. So, so even the male writers were hardly uh, talking about such, you know, issues at that time. But you can imagine a woman writer and that too from Urdu world can, depict such issues like lesbianism in her short story. So we will see the quilt, the lihaf. Lihaf is a Urdu word for quilt. And the short story Lihaf originally was written in Urdu, and later it was translated into English as the quilt. So, what is the importance of quilt of the title? We will see that. You would have already noticed how something as ordinary and commonplace as a quilt has been used effectively to create a sense of anticipation. There is also a way in which the narration of Lihar mimics the pattern of quilt making. Quilts are usually made by sewing together bits and pieces of old clothes in much the same fashion. This short story stitches together scraps of memories, anecdotes, and uh, tittle to make a well-patterned story. So, we know about the quilt. So, the quilt that is only half, we know about that and how it has been seen and how it has been filled, sometimes by the cotton, most of the time by the cotton, but earlier it was also filled by the, pieces of cloth. So, through that, the writer is trying to say that this story also is like Lihat like quilt. That how a girl, a woman, when she was a girl, how she remembers that what was happening under the quilt, when she was with Begum Jam. So it is it is the memories which are in bits and pieces now, and how they are collectively became a short story. The way bits of clothes, fused and they became the quilt. The quilt also images the central theme of sexuality. It is used to project quite literally the young protagonist's sexual fears. Whenever I snuggle into my quilt, its shadow on the wall seems to sway like an elephant. So how you see that girl, whenever she is going to sleep in her quilt, she remembers the quilt which was, of Begum Jan. And when she sees the image of quilt on wall, or we can say the shadow of quilt on wall, it is a kind, that shadow, appears to be elephant like her. It means that how she was, a kind of fearful from the quilt. That that fear came from the experiences she had gone through when she was young and when she was with Begum Jan. So she was not, happy. She didn't want to do what she had to do when she was with Begum Jan, and it was the order of the Begum Jan. She was doing that. So that kind of phobia was there in her mind throughout her life. That when she was going to her uh, behalf, her quill, she was, remembering what was happened when she was young and at the home of Begum Jan. And I will suggest you people to read the short story you to have better understanding. It also serves to shadow Begum Jan's disquiet and anxiety each time she turned over. The quilt assumed ferocious shape which appeared like shadowy monsters on the wall. So it is, that how she was imagining that the shadow of the quilt on the wall and how frightened she was. A little later, it is used to suggest Begum Jan's sexual loneliness and coldness. But despite renewing the cotton filling with her quilt each year, Begum Jan continues to shiver night after night. So that was about the importance of lihab in this story, in this short story. And now uh, we will discuss a few more points about you know the criticism this short story had to go through. So this is the ending of the story has been commended by many. So there are many writers, there are many critics who appreciated this, but there are other people who criticized and who condemned such kind of taboo issues. The childish tone, which is half Holland, half playful and implicit suggestion that continues to lie beneath the quilt, even at the very end of the short story, hurts in my phrase. But it has also been suggested that Krishna Chuktai, who made such a virtue of daring to speak the unspeakable, Krishna Chuktai, who was explained Purdah had already been imposed on me, but my tongue was a naked sword. No one could strain it. So, Chukrai says that I was born to a Muslim family and Purdah was imposed on me. But she said that my tongue was free and my tongue was like a sword and I don't care about other people and I write what I feel better. And so we are at time when society is gradually becoming less homophobic, when we are beginning to look upon homoerotic relationships not simplistically as a therapeutic influence of the West or as a moral disease, but as a valid way of living and learning. So she is talking, it is about the lesbianism that in our country it was not allowed, but later we see that it is also permitted in our countries like the Western countries that we can live and we can love with the people we like. So it may be of the same gender, it may be of the opposite gender. So that was that is what was depicted in this country. In this short story that Begum Jan uh, had a great sexual desire and she was quenching that desire with that young girl. It comes as a shock that the one story which is supposed to have sensitively narrated homosexual love is in the last analysis guarded about it. At best, it shies away from the subject, and at worst, it appears to revive it. So while summing up, we see that Ismat Chuktai, who is the author of Lihab, was a prominent member of Progressive Writers Association, and her story foregrounded the changes that were occurring in middle class Muslim households during the time of nation building. So it is the time of when the freedom struggle was on its peak, and Ismat Chuktai uh, depicted the changing notions of families, particularly of middle class families, and that too particularly of middle class, Muslim families. And not only Muslim, she talked about the women, the Muslim women of middle class families, that how they were treated at that time and how their desires were suppressed and how they were like, second rate citizen or the members of their household. So these things have been portrayed by Isma Chattai in her writing. The story Lihaf is narrated by a young girl. She tries to recreate memories of a time when she was a little girl. She recalls the time she stayed with Begum Jan. Those memories are intricately part of her growing up experiences. The story she narrates uncovers the gendering of the girl child. It also focuses on nuances of sexuality and of the feudal class structure of the then society. The story has created a great stir because it dared to explore the issue of lesbian love. The charge of obscenity that it faced led to energetic debates not only on obscenity but on the province that society assigned to the human writer. So uh, that's how the these kind of issues, these kinds of topics like lesbianism, how they were tabooed at the time of Machufai, and not only talking about them, even thinking about them was a kind of thing which was considered by the middle class people, and when you talk about the middle class, Muslim families. And at that time, in such situation, we see that Ismat Chutkai was raising such issues through her writing. So we see that Ismat Chutkai is representing the middle class families, and particularly the women of middle class Muslim families, that how they were suppressed and how they were not they are, allowed to talk about their desires, and how they have uh, to be like second class members in their own family. So, such were the things that is depicted, that are depicted by Ismail Chutkai in her writing. So, students, dear students, the time is over now, and uh, I think today is our last class, that is last online class, and we'll see that if there is any offline class. And we were able to cover only 10 units, and there are total 24 units, but the issue is that the students are not joining online, and that is the thing, that is one of the reasons that, the most of the questions is not be covered. But anyway, and I think that, what are the things which have been covered in our online classes, it will be useful, it will be useful for you people, and it will help you in writing your exam and understanding the units or the chapters we have discussed. So for now, we will leave the class, and thank you for attending the class. So bye, take care, good luck.